God told me to come out here, so I'm never going to question his word.
Shedeur Sanders, the hero that everybody needs. Man, I'm so jealous of Cleveland.
A neighborhood in Cleveland just went through the worst weeks of its life. An explosion, a fire, families losing everything they owned in one night. And while cameras chased training camp storylines, one Browns rookie quietly drove straight into the middle of the pain. No press conference, no big announcement, just Shedeur Sanders showing up for people who needed somebody to show up. Here's what actually happened at Rainbow Terrace, and why what Shedeur did next is getting more attention than anything he's done on a football field. On June 23rd, an explosion and fire tore through the Rainbow Terrace apartments in Cleveland's Garden Valley neighborhood. More than 40 families were displaced, multiple people were rushed to the hospital, and in the middle of the chaos, one man became the reason anyone survived at all. Cordell Sheffield ran back into the danger to save his two stepchildren from the fire. He got them out. He did not make it out himself. The community lost a father, a protector, and by every account, a genuine hero in the same night it lost its homes. For weeks, this was a Cleveland story that stayed mostly local. No national pregame segment, no sports center feature, just families sleeping somewhere unfamiliar, kids trying to process losing their home and losing a man who saved their lives, and a community trying to figure out where everyone was going to sleep that night. Think about how fast that kind of thing can spiral out of a headline. A fire like this makes the local news for a night or two, then the story moves on for most of the country, even while the people who actually lived it are still sorting through what's left, still filing paperwork, still figuring out where their kids go to school now, still grieving a man who ran back in to save two children who were not even biologically his and never made it back out. And that is exactly the situation Shedeur Sanders walked into. Not for a photo, not for a headline. He walked into a community that was still grieving, still rebuilding, still trying to figure out what normal even looks like now.
The past few weeks have been difficult for the residents of the Rainbow Terrace apartments in Cleveland's Garden Valley neighborhood.
Stop and actually sit with that for a second. 40 families, one life lost, saving his own kids. That is the real story here before Shedeur ever enters the picture. Here's the part that makes this different from a normal athlete photo op. Shedeur was not even in Cleveland when the fire happened. He was out of town, and according to his own words, he found out the way a lot of people in his generation find out about anything urgent, through a message on Instagram, laying out exactly what the community had just gone through. Most public figures in that position write a check. That is not a knock. Checks help. Money matters, and nobody should pretend otherwise. But Shedeur didn't stop at money. He said the first thing he wanted to do the moment he got back into town was come to the community himself. Not send a rep, not send a statement. Come himself. And instead of a quiet handoff of resources, he decided to build an entire day around the neighborhood. His words were that he wanted people to have a day of enjoyment, a day of excitement, something that brought the family atmosphere back to a block that had just watched families lose everything. That turned into the Garden Valley Funfest. Free food, free drinks, free haircuts, music, games, community vendors, and resources set up for anyone who needed them, right there in the neighborhood that was still healing. This wasn't staged for a highlight reel. It was built for the people who actually live there, the ones who don't get a national broadcast when their apartment building explodes. That decision, choosing time and presence over just cutting a check from a distance, is the part of this story that deserves way more attention than it's gotten. Anybody with money can donate from a distance and never think about it again. Showing up means standing in the middle of people's grief, hearing their stories in person, and putting your own schedule on hold to give a neighborhood something to look forward to. And remember, this is a rookie in the middle of an actual quarterback competition, at a point in the calendar where every single day matters for his football career. He still made the time. That says something about priorities that a stat sheet never will.
Sanders received a message on Instagram detailing the tragedy at the Rainbow Terrace apartments, but rather than simply send money.
And I just wanted a day, for everybody to get out here, have some type of enjoyment, excitement, bring just the family atmosphere back.
He decided he would provide his time. The Garden Valley Funfest brought the community together with free food, drinks, haircuts, music, games, and community vendors and resources for those who needed them.
So ask yourself this. How many people with that kind of platform would have just wired a donation and called it handled? Shedeur didn't do that. He showed up in person. He didn't do it alone either. Browns defensive end Mike Hall was out there with him. Cleveland boxer Montana Love joined in. Other familiar faces from around the city came through too. This wasn't a solo publicity run. It was a group of people from Cleveland pouring back into a Cleveland neighborhood that needed it. And you can hear it in how the community talked about it. One resident on camera put it simply, saying it's wonderful, that it's about time, and that the kids looked like they were genuinely having a great time, because usually it's not this nice for them. That's not a scripted soundbite. That's a real reaction from someone who lives there and watched it happen in front of her. Shedeur himself talked about it in terms bigger than a single event. He said the community needs to keep coming together, keep loving on each other, and keep putting resources together so the neighborhood can actually heal. That's not the language of someone doing a one-and-done appearance for content. That's someone who understands this fire didn't end when the flames went out. It left a wound that a single day of free food and haircuts can't fully close, but it can absolutely start to. He also admitted something honest on camera. He said there were people who didn't want him coming out here doing this, and he didn't understand why. His answer to that was simple. God told him to come out here, so he wasn't going to question it. Whatever you make of that line, the result is not up for debate. Families who had just lost everything got a day where their kids were laughing again.
I think it's wonderful. It's about time that, these kids look like they're having a great time down here. Because usually it's not this nice. So I'm loving it.
Joined by Browns defensive end Mike Hall, Cleveland boxer Montana Love, and others from around Cleveland, Sanders helped bring a little fun to a neighborhood that continues to heal.
We got to continue to come together and continue to love on each other and put our resources together so we can heal the community.
Compare that to how most viral athlete moments get built. A camera crew, a hype video, a caption ready to go before the appearance even ends. This one came from an Instagram message and a decision to show up. A Cleveland-based reaction creator who covered this story put it in a way that stuck with a lot of people watching. His framing was simple. This is bigger than football, it's deeper than football. And honestly, that's hard to argue with. Nobody remembers a training camp rep a year later. People in Garden Valley are going to remember who showed up when their neighborhood was on fire and who didn't. That same creator pointed out that this story never got the kind of national spotlight a lot of other athlete moments get. No Sports Center special, no primetime feature, just the local news crew, a rookie quarterback, and a neighborhood that got its day back. Whatever you think about how much national coverage a story like this deserves, the fact remains that the people it actually mattered to, the families of Garden Valley, got exactly what they needed: presence, resources, and a reason to smile again. And that's really the whole story here. A community loses a hero and loses their homes in the same night. A rookie quarterback finds out from an Instagram message while he's out of town, and instead of quietly writing a check, he plans an entire day built around bringing joy back to people who had every reason to have none left. Free food, free haircuts, games, music, other Cleveland athletes showing up alongside him, and kids who, for one afternoon, got to just be kids again. That's not a stat line. That's not a highlight reel throw. That's a rookie quarterback understanding that the community that will be cheering for him on Sundays is the same community that needed him on a random weekday in the middle of a tragedy, and showing up anyway. Football fans love to argue about arm strength, footwork, and who wins a QB battle in August. Fine, those debates matter for the season, but this is the kind of story that tends to outlast a box score. Years from now, the kids who got their haircuts and their ice cream and their day of normal fun back at Garden Valley are going to remember exactly who gave that to them, long after they forget the final score of any preseason game.
So the ESPYs is a watered down program by ESPN. So it made sense that they wouldn't share Shedeur Sanders' efforts, community efforts. Notice I didn't say heroic effort, because that would be disrespectful to real heroes like Perdell Sheffield, who unfortunately lost his life that day. But what does that make Shedeur Sanders? What does it make of him? Nothing more than a man. A beautiful black man, a caring man, A man who understands what I echo with my quotes every time I make these videos. It's bigger than football, dawg. It's deeper than football.
Here's the reality check. This didn't need a viral edit or a trending hashtag to matter. It mattered the moment those kids at Garden Valley got their day back. Let's put the whole timeline together. June 23rd, an explosion and fire hits Rainbow Terrace apartments. 40-plus families displaced. Cordell Sheffield dies a hero saving his 2 stepchildren. For weeks, the community is left to process that loss largely on its own. Then, Shedeur Sanders, who was out of town when it happened, gets a message detailing the tragedy, and instead of just sending money from a distance, he comes back and builds an entire day for the neighborhood. Free food, free haircuts, music, games, community resources, joined by Mike Hall, Montana Love, and others. A resident on camera says the kids are having a great time in a way that usually doesn't happen for them. Shedeur says the plan now is to keep coming together and keep healing the community. That's the story. Not a stat sheet, not a depth chart battle, a rookie quarterback showing up when it counted. So here's the real question heading into this season. Do you judge Shedeur Sanders by what he does on Sundays, or by what he did on a random weekday for a neighborhood that had just lost everything? Drop your answer in the comments, Sundays or Garden Valley, and let us know which one actually tells you more about who he is. Smash like and subscribe.